Hello everyone and welcome back to Quick Tip Tuesdays. Today's quick tip deals with the term timbre. And what I just demonstrated to you is an example of what we mean by timbre. First of all, timbre is spelled T-I-M-B-R-E, and it looks like timber, but it's pronounced more like timbre. And what it has to do with is the quality or character of a note or of a sound. So I played the exact same little melody on three different instruments, right? I did it on flute, I played the same melody on violin, and I played the same melody on keys, on keyboard. That is the intro, that little melody. It's the intro that I wrote for my song called Come Back to You Before You Come Back to Me. And that can be found on my album. The reason that I wanted to start this video in that manner was to show you, or just to demonstrate, that you can have the same notes, exact same notes, same pitches, all of that. But obviously they have a little bit different, or sometimes more than a little bit of a different sound because of the structure of the instrument making the sound. So what has that got to do with how we use our voice? Well, when it comes to the use of the voice, whether you're speaking or whether you're singing or rapping, whatever, you want to keep in mind the quality of your voice, the characteristics of your voice, for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you remember that wonderful interview I did with my mom in which we talked about finding your own voice in the music or in the speaking or the work that you do. So part of finding your own voice has to do with recognizing and really getting to know the unique qualities of your instrument that you use. That's, for one thing. That has to do with things like your vocal range. If you're a singer, what are your highest notes? What are your lowest notes? It has to do with things like knowing where your voice might crack when you're speaking or singing, and just how to handle your voice. The more we get to know our instrument, just like with any other kind of instrument, the more we're able to work with that instrument. So that's part of the reason for understanding timbre. The other major reason for knowing and understanding timbre, or another reason, is knowing how to use it. And what I mean by that is another term that sometimes people will use in describing timbre or defining it is they'll say the color of the voice, characteristic of the voice, color of the voice, all saying the same thing. So for example, we know that if you sing a blues song, one of the things that distinguishes a blues vocalist from maybe like a pop vocalist, for example, is that timbre, the coloring and characteristics of the voice. Pop vocalists, as well as even like country vocalists, we talk about that twang a little bit, or sometimes being a little more nasal, a little more nasal in the singing. Whereas a blues vocalist, oftentimes it may have what we call like a rougher sound to the voice. Those different qualitative differences, those different differences. I love it. Those different kinds of qualitative differences. I said it again. Okay. Those different kinds of characteristics. Okay. Those different kinds of characteristics are the things that color our voice. So as a vocalist, you want to make sure that you are utilizing the timbre, having a timbre in your voice that fits with what it is you're trying to convey stylistically. It doesn't mean you can't be creative and maybe introduce a different style, maybe a bluesy type sound in a non-bluesy type song. I'm all for mixing things up. But I think before we can get creative on that level, sometimes you have to have a really good understanding of terms and what it is that you're doing. So that helps. Another thing is maybe more toward the spoken artists out there or the speakers. The idea that the characteristics of your voice, you want to make sure that it's not clashing with the actual message that you're trying to convey. And we know that a huge part of communication, using the voice in any way, has to do with not just the words that are stated, that are said, but how we say them. So you want to make sure, it's another reason for listening to the timbre, listen to the characteristics of your voice, and you want to make sure that you are getting across to your audience the things that you want to get across in the way that you want to get them across. Let's see. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today, to deal with the word timbre, to help define it, be aware of the word, to define it, and to think about it in the use of your own vocal work. So I was trying to think of perhaps if I did an example beyond the instruments that I've shown you, but I think you pretty much get the message, get the idea. Besides the fact that, for example, Britney Spears, who is considered a pop artist, besides the fact that her actual voice itself is a different voice than Bonnie Raitt. They're two different vocal instruments, two different voices. Not besides the fact, but they are two different voices doing two different styles of music for the most part. One of the things that helps us be able to, I guess you could say, identify what makes their voices different is the timbre. And that characteristic and quality. Bonnie Raitt has like I said before, kind of a rougher sound to her voice a little bit. What we consider an earthier, more bluesy sound. And of course, Britney Spears has, like we say, a poppier sound, or more of a pop sound to her voice. There's a bit of nasality to it. It's a higher, maybe perhaps a lighter voice. Maybe you could put it that way. Has less weightiness to the voice in certain ways. So anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. The idea of the term timbre, if you're familiar with it, it's a refresher. If you're unfamiliar with the word, I hope I taught you something new today. And I also encourage you to use the word. Use it in the work that you do and apply it. That helps as well in terms of our growing knowledge about the work that we do and the use of the terminology. We want to use the terminology. Okay, so have a blessed rest of today. And if this was useful to you or helpful, please click the like button, the little thumbs up, and let me know that you liked it. Feel free to comment below and, share with me your thoughts. And please do, as always, I invite you to subscribe. And that way, by being a subscriber, you will instantly get my videos as I upload them. You'll get a notice right in your email, and you'll know the moment that they are released. Okay, so take care. God bless, and talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, I just wanted to add a part 2 real quickly. I felt like I didn't give enough examples, maybe, for different ways of coloring the voice, characteristics for timbre and the use of timbre. One example would be if you're speaking, say for actors. Perfect example, as a matter of fact, is Marilyn Monroe. And if you ever hear recordings of Marilyn Monroe speaking in her natural voice, it's deeper. It's not breathy like it is, not nearly like it is when she's playing the role of Marilyn Monroe in front of the cameras. So that's one example of changing the timbre, that more breathy, that breathier sound to fit the character. So actors, of course, work with the timbre of their voices all the time. So that's one example. Another example I just want to give you real quickly so I can feel like I gave you a couple of examples in addition to the instrumentation for the voice. I would say I mentioned blues music before in the first video. So an example would be purposely cracking your voice. Country artists do the same thing. And the purpose of it is maybe to convey anguish or emphasis or whatever. So song that I wrote called The Lady, Reintroducing the Lady. Where I come from, a lady is a woman fully grown. Lady. I don't do it to that degree, but that little bit of, cracking the voice on purpose is another example of affecting or influencing the timbre, the characteristic and coloring of your voice for conveying a style of music or an emotion in the music, things like that. So just wanted to add that little part in our lesson on timbre for today. And like I said, have a beautiful, blessed rest of the Tuesday. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.